Hi, I'm Jessica Rector, your host and founder of This Man Thing, where we help men be a truer, better version of themselves and stand in their unique power to gain more freedom, confidence, and success. You can find us at thismanthing.com. You can also join our free Facebook group at thismanthing.com/groups, where men are having real conversations and building much needed community, support, and camaraderie with other men. My guest today, his name is Joseph Romano. He's a divorced dad of two great boys who decided to take back his health and turn it into a business. Please help me give a warm welcome to Joseph. Woo! Thanks for being here, Joseph.
Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. So tell us a little bit about your journey and how you started down the path of taking back your health.
Well, about 4.5 years ago, I decided to get divorced. It was not an easy decision, as a lot of people know. Divorce is something where you have to really consider about what you're going to do, because it's not only about you, it's about the person you're leaving. And if you have kids, it's about them as well. So when I finally made the decision, the year or few years after that were basically hell. Depression, thinking if I made the right choice or not. I was more concerned about my kids than myself. I saw pain in them, the confusion of going back and forth to different houses. There just didn't seem to be any steady schedule for them, even though there was one in our minds, because it was 4 days with me, then 3 days. It was just, the only way to explain it was hell. I was working as a teacher, and I was also bartending Friday and Saturday nights. Bartending, I would get home at 5 o'clock in the morning. And considering getting home at 5 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday was really Sunday morning, get my kids back at 9. So there was really no time for me to sleep. And I would send them off.
I heard a bar is open till 5 a.m.
Well, the bars close at 2. By the time you clean up and by the time you get home, it's 5 o'clock in the morning.
Oh my gosh.
And the one bar I worked at in Seaside, last call's at 3, bar closes at 3:30. You're done at 5:30, then you go to breakfast, and you're home at 7:30, 8 o'clock. So the hours were ridiculous. So when I got my kids back on Sunday, I was working on 2 hours, 3 hours of sleep. I'd send them off to my mom, sleep till about 2 o'clock, bring them back, and I basically lost a day. I was a zombie. And that's when the depression started to set in. I was miserable. I didn't know where I was going, what I was doing. I was going through the motions. And what happened was I was always working when I was married. I was teaching, I was bartending, and I was also cleaning the house, believe it or not. But after the divorce, then there came CCD, sports, dinners, making lunches for the kids, making sure school was homework. It got to the point where I didn't know what the hell I was going to do. And my health deteriorated. I was drinking a lot, eating stuff that I shouldn't have been eating. And it got to the point where I really wasn't overweight. I was never really overweight. I was always working out. I was always going to the gym. But the stuff that I was putting into my system did not help me. I mean, I have pictures of what I looked like 4 years ago. And the bags under my eyes, it looked like I was in a fight the night before. Because when I'm tired, my eyes get black and blue. They get puffy, and it looks like I was in a fight. So my sister started a business or a program, and she's like, you need to try this. And I said, what the hell, why not? Nothing else is working. I might as well try something. And I saw a change. I started sleeping a little bit better. I felt better about myself, and I saw physical changes that I didn't see before. And I didn't realize, everybody when they work out at the gym, they think just because they go to the gym or they're working out, they're going to change the way that they look. And it's not true, because the more I read up on it, it's 70% diet and 30% exercise. So the 30% I was spending at the gym, the 70% that I was home, like there's a quote, it says abs are made in the kitchen, and it's true. It's what you're putting into your body is what you're getting out. And the more good food I was eating, it kind of changed how I look physically, but it also helped kind of change mentally too, because I saw the difference in my body on the outside, but also I kind of felt different on the inside because I wasn't as sluggish, I wasn't as tired, I had more energy. It was just because of what I was actually fueling my system with.
So let's go back a little bit. So you were talking about feeling depressed and really just exhausted. Like, it sounds like you were just beat down from working, not only beat down physically, but mentally and emotionally beat down. So what does that look like? How, like, paint us a picture of what that looks like, or what a day-to-day would look like, because there's going to be men listening that may not know if that's really them. Maybe it could be, but they've convinced themselves that that's not really them for whatever reason.
Painting that picture was at 5 o'clock. I couldn't wait for the day to be over. During the week, especially when I didn't have my kids, because I would want to go to sleep. I would wake up an hour before my alarm would ring, dreading getting up to go to work because I did not want to see anybody. And I know waking up was painful, because when you wake up and you're depressed and you don't want to go through the day, the only way to explain it is you feel like 1,000 pounds. It has nothing to do about weight or what you look physically. You just feel like the weight of the world is on your shoulders. And going from my bed to the bathroom just to take a shower, it was the farthest walk I've ever had to walk. I'd rather work out than walk those 5 or 10 steps for those first 5 minutes that I'm up, because it's just, I have to start the day. I have to get up. And getting up was not motivating, because there was nothing that was going to motivate me throughout the day to be present in that day, except for the days that I had my kids. And the only time that I thought I was actually quote unquote present was when I had them. But even though when I had them, I was there, but I wasn't there. They had the shell of a father, but they didn't have what they have now.
Did you recognize that in the moment? Did you recognize that you weren't really being actively present, even whether it was with your kids or whether it was at work? Did you know that, or were you just too busy going through the motions and had no idea that's what it was?
No, when you're going through it, you don't think about anything else but yourself and how shitty I'm sorry, but how crappy the day is. But you know what it means. You don't think about that. You just think about yourself and what you have to deal with. You don't think about your kids. You don't think about anything else but getting through the day and how you're going to do it. When I started doing Isagenix, they just throw all this personal development BS at you. And that's all I thought it was just personal development BS. Everybody's high on being happy about yourself. And it was just something I was turned off to. But little by little, when something's shoved down your throat so much as resistance you want to have to it, you start taking in little bits and pieces. And I started taking in little bits and pieces, and somebody said, just look at yourself from the outside in. Pretend that you're above yourself and you're hovering over yourself and looking at what you're doing. And I saw that. And when I was playing catch with my kids, I actually took myself out of that moment, and I'm watching myself playing football, whatever we were doing. And I know that I'm thinking about something else, and I'm looking at myself having this catch, and I'm like, why am I not enjoying this? Why am I not having the smile that my kids have? But it was also a half-assed smile on their end, because regardless of how old your kids are, whether they're 30, 40, 12, or 9, they can see right through you. They're smarter than we know.
Right.
So my son, he's 12 now, so at 8, he knew I was miserable. As much as I tried to play it off as an 8-year-old, it wasn't fair on my part to have him play that off also. And sometimes I hold a lot of regret and I feel bad, but it's a learning process for me, and it was a learning process for him as well.
So how did you work your way through that?
I didn't have a choice. We have choices. I mean, everybody has a choice. We have a choice to wake up. We have a choice to get dressed. We have a choice to go to work. And my thing is, I have a choice. I can continue on with this pattern and have my kids follow my lead, or I can change how I am and have my kids follow a different lead.
But was there a moment that you were like, okay, something's got to change? What was that time? Because if you're just busy going through the motions and, thinking about yourself during the process, was it one of the personal development things that you heard and you're like, oh yes, I've got to change this? Or did something happen, that something happened to a friend of yours that you were like, oh yes, okay, that could have been me. I like that. What happened? Because if you're just busy every single day going through the motions and you don't recognize it in yourself, how do you start to recognize it in yourself?
This is the part that I didn't want to bring up, but I guess I don't have a choice now. I thought my kids were better off with an insurance policy than having me around. That's what woke my ass up. I thought I was better off. I thought the kids were better off not having me around, seeing me miserable and depressed, and have money for college than to watch me go through the miserable bullshit emotions I was going through. Something I didn't want to bring up, but that was the moment. So I had to make a decision. Do I end it, or do I change who I am to better myself for them? Because everybody has this vision about how life sucks and how sometimes they're better off not being around and how better off other people are, but they don't realize the damage that they do or the people that they leave behind. And everybody thinks it's a coward way out. But the thing is, it takes a strong person to actually end it, because I wasn't strong enough to do it, because it's just something I couldn't do. I was scared of what I was going to leave behind. I was scared about the kids, and I was wondering how it was going to leave them. So either I fix myself because I'm not going to do anything about it, or do I let these kids see me deteriorate every single day, and when they're 20 or 30, watching them go through therapy all the time.
You could have stayed on the path of the depression, being depressed, being exhausted, sending them off to your moms. You could have continued on that path. What chose you to say no to that and to instead choose yourself? Because even if you didn't end it, you could have gone back to the way you'd been living before, because you've been living that way for years. So what made you decide to say, no, I'm choosing me?
Because in the past, I always thought it was about the kids. You have to worry about your kids first. It was always everybody else. And that moment that I thought about the insurance policy and everything else, I'm like, this is where I need to care about myself first. Because if I was just continue to go through the motions and continue on the path that I was on, I would still be here today, but my kids would have a half-assed father. There's no other way to explain it. They would have a half-assed dad. So it's either I make the changes to better myself for me, because if I'm not right for myself, and if I'm not 110% for me, then what am I going to give my kids? I'm going to give my kids a half-assed version of who I am. So we always think as parents that we have to be there for our kids, but we have to be there for ourselves first. Because once we're there for ourselves and we love ourselves and we love who we are, that's who our kids deserve to see. Not a version where you don't want to wake up in the morning, or not a version where you want your kids to go to sleep so you can go to sleep. You don't want to rush the day. And that's what I was doing. I was rushing the day. I was looking at the clock. All right, it's 6. They go to bed in 2.5 hours. I can go to bed in 2.5 hours. That's not what I wanted anymore, because it wasn't fair to them. So something had to change, and it was that day. It was a switch. And if I didn't take care of myself, either they were going to see me and follow my path, but I'd rather have them follow this path instead.
So what was the process of you starting to take care of yourself? Because you don't wake up one day and say, great, now I've got to start taking care of myself, and boom, everything's amazing and great right in that instance, that day. So what was the journey? What were the steps that led you from the decision that, A, I've got to take care of myself, to where you are now? What are those steps?
Well, I was always going to the gym. The gym was always an escape for me. But my diet and my health was never really an issue. I mean, I drank a lot. I ate crappy food, McDonald's. I ate all that stuff. And then
McDonald's, yeah.
You know, I have a problem with that now. But before, I mean, every Friday and Saturday night, I was at a stoplight, and I would call the diner and say, hey, it's Joe. Like, all right, we'll have your food ready in 10 minutes. It was pork roll, egg, and cheese, and disco fries. So I ate whatever I wanted. It didn't matter. So my sister started Isagenix 6 years ago, and she always wanted me to do it with her, but I never wanted anything to do with the business because it just was something I didn't believe in. But I tried the product just to shut her up, I guess, and to be supportive as a brother. But when I started actually putting in decent food into my system and I started learning how to eat again, I started feeling good about myself. I wasn't sluggish. Even though I was depressed, I was still tired, but I didn't have that lag going to the gym that I had before. I actually had energy going to the gym. And I had energy after the gym. And I felt actually good after a workout. Because there's times where when I would work out, when I was depressed, I couldn't wait to get out of there. I'd go in, 10 minutes, I was out. And even though I was only there for 10 minutes, in my mind, I went to the gym. So it wasn't a waste of the day. But the thing is, those 10 minutes were not productive. You can spend an hour and a half. If you're not productive, you're not productive. You can be those guys that just talk all day. But when I finally went in and I got a decent workout, I felt good. And they always talk about the best type of therapy for anybody that's depressed is to do some type of physical exercise because endorphins and all that other stuff. And I kind of understand that now because when I would work out, I just felt good. And I don't know if it had to do with CrossFit because you set goals for yourself. And we always have time trials and different things that we've done before. And my times got better. My weights increased. My body's changed. And the more that I saw the changes, especially with the food that I was eating, it started to click. And even though the depression was still there, I kind of started having confidence in myself, which I never had before.
So what started to click? You said it started to click. What is it?
Confidence. I met my ex-wife when I was 17. I was with her until I was 37. I knew the marriage should not have happened. I knew the marriage should have ended before the kids. It was just a matter of me having the guts to leave because I didn't think I was good enough for anybody else. And I didn't like what I saw in the mirror, physically, face-wise, body-wise. But the more I started looking at myself in a different light, and it didn't just have to do with physical, it had to do with mental also, I started liking the changes that I saw. Because I wasn't as depressed as before. I had things to look forward to. Every time I woke up, it was always about, I don't want to go to work. I don't want to have to do this. I don't have to pay bills. But then I got to the point where I can't wait till the kids come home from school. I can't wait till we have those 2 hours where we can play football or do whatever we have in the basement. So I started looking at things differently.
And so how do you go from being depressed to having confidence? Was it first, did you see it in the physical transformation? So then you started getting more confidence? Were people treating you differently? Was it the personal development that was shoved down your throat that you then were like, okay, well, maybe I'm not so bad?
I want to say part of it was the personal development. Part of it too was I always confused confidence with being cocky. I always had an issue with that. Every time I saw a guy with their shirt off or on Facebook or social media, I'm like, what a jerk. What is he doing? It was something that really irritated me. It was never my thing.
It's not my thing either. Even as a female, not my thing.
So the more people started paying attention to me is the more where things started to change. And I guess I kind of fed off on it. I liked the attention. So maybe I became an attention whore. But I liked how I think people were paying attention to me before, even when I was married, because a lot of people say you're so naive, this person's interested in you, but I just never really wanted to have that cockiness or confidence. So the more that I started to have it, things started to change. It's just the more I looked at myself and how I felt about myself.
And so just kind of take me down that path. Like, how did you start seeing yourself differently though? Because it's one thing getting attention from people. That's really external validation, right?
Yeah.
But I believe external validation doesn't mean anything. Like, I don't believe that external validation defines a person. I believe that if you're looking for external validation to show you your worth, you're looking in the wrong place, right? It's all about internal validation and how you feel about you. So even though you are getting attention from other people, how was that changing how you felt about you on the inside?
I had a close friend who told me to wake the F up.
Okay, what does that mean?
She's like, you need to wake up and look at what you have. And I didn't understand that because growing up, I saw my parents struggle. And I always thought about the house, the money, the cars, and having all materialistic things. And that's how I started bringing myself up. Like when I got money, I started to spend it, got the house, but I never really appreciated anything.
Mm.
So she was like, you really need to, again, take a step out of yourself and look at what you've created, not only for yourself, but for your kids.
Mm-hmm.
So I started doing that. I took myself out of myself and I looked at things that I've had. I mean, now when I take my dog for a walk around the development, I actually look at where I live.
Mm.
Years ago, I couldn't imagine living in a place like this or a house like this. It's just something that just seemed foreign to me because I was always struggling to make ends meet. And it got to the point where it's not about being happy, but appreciating what you actually have. Because everybody, it just seems like we're so focused on TV and what social media or media wants to portray on what happiness is or what a lifestyle is supposed to be like, the big house, the car. But you can make $10,000 a year or $100 million a year and still look at the same exact sunset and appreciate what it has to offer. And that's when it finally hit me. Like, I can actually be that person living in either a Section 8 house or it doesn't matter where I'm living. I can still appreciate the same things that somebody else does making a certain amount of money, because in my mind, money is what brings you happiness. And when I started to have the money, I was still miserable. So I knew that was an issue.
Mm.
And that's where things started to change for me.
By what? You tweaking your perspective on money?
My perspective on money, what I actually have. I have 2 great kids. I have a great family. Why am I not appreciating this? Why am I not content with what I have? I have a therapist. I don't know if you want me to say this, but he always brings up George Carlin. And I'm like, I just want to be happy. He's like, happiness comes with blowjobs and ice cream. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, it lasts for a couple minutes. He's like, you have to learn how to appreciate what you have and be content. He's like, happiness is like sadness. It comes and goes.
Mm.
Like, enjoy what you have, because the other stuff, you'll have it, you'll feel happy. But after 5 or 10 minutes, it's done and over with. You're going to go back to where you were 10 minutes ago. He's like, you have to learn about appreciation and being content with what you currently have at the situation at hand.
How does that change how you feel about yourself, though? Appreciation for the things around you. How does that change how you feel about you?
It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of personal development. It takes a lot of writing. I've been writing a lot at night before I go to bed about what my day has been like. And I refer back when I'm in a crappy mood. Okay, what was last week like? What was yesterday like? And every night before I go to bed, I write 3 things down that I'm thankful for. Whether it's the kids, I have to actually write 4 because it's always the kids. The kids are number 1. So I need to write 4 things. And it could be opening up a door for somebody or somebody letting me in at a light on the highway. It doesn't matter. There's got to be at least 3 things throughout the day that I'm thankful for. And the more I started doing those little tiny things, it wasn't something that made me realize that I'm better. It's just, it gave me a different perspective on myself, life, and just stuff in general.
I do the same thing. I write 5 things every night before I go to bed that I'm thankful for. And a couple of them are not necessarily, I'm thankful for Blaze, my son. I'm thankful for maybe something Blaze did or something that he said or things like that, because for me, like you, it kind of goes without saying that I'm thankful that he's in my life, but it's about appreciating those things that we often take for granted. So what would you tell yourself 4 years ago when you were going through all those struggles? What advice would you give yourself, or thought or help would you give yourself if you knew today if you knew back then what you know today?
It's going to sound cliche because everybody says this, but trust the process. There's no other way to explain. Just trust the process, because no matter what you're going through, it's for a reason, and everything's going to work out the way it's supposed to.
So if someone's going through similar hardships that you went through, and they don't know where to start, they don't know where to begin, what's one thing that they can do today to get them started on a better track for themselves?
Change the way they think.
And how do they do that?
Wake up and I hated when somebody told me this. You have to wake up and say, today's a new day. Whatever happened yesterday is over. what happens an hour from now doesn't have to necessarily mean depression or whatever. That's how I wake up every single morning. Today is a new day. It's a fresh start. I mean, you can be a person going through foreclosure. You don't know what might happen that day to completely change the entire process. Every day when you wake up is a new day. So how you present it or how you wake up to it is how the day is going to go.
Exactly. And things that you've done in your past, things that have happened to you, struggles, challenges, situations, experiences, those things don't define you. You know, you are you, and going out there and being a better version of yourself doesn't mean that your past makes you who you are today. Thank you so much for being here, Joseph. How can people find out more about you, and how can they connect with you?
They can find more about me on Facebook. My name is Joseph Romano. You'll see my big face as my profile picture. You can also email me at romano1274@gmail.com. I'm all over social media, so anywhere you can find me. LinkedIn, Joseph Romano also. Again, it's my big face.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here and sharing your story, Joseph. I appreciate it. Again, I'm Jessica Rector, your host and founder of This Man Thing, where we help men be truer, better versions of themselves so they can stand in their unique power and gain more freedom, confidence, and success. Find out about us more at thismanthing.com. Feel free to connect with me or email me at jessica@thismanthing.com. And if you want a community that has support and you can build camaraderie with other men and have real conversations, go to thismanthing.com/groups and join us in our Facebook group. We would love to have you. And thanks so much for being here. Until next time, have a fabulous, amazing day. Bye-bye.